So let's talk a little bit more about the ongoing problems in Trump world, shall we? Of course we shall. Problems in Trump world are one of my favorite topics to discuss, especially this Epstein stuff, because this idiot just keeps digging the hole deeper and deeper for himself, probably because he's guilty as sin. Anyway, I've got an article here about some recent comments from Laura Loomer. Now, if you don't know who this, I don't even know how to describe this woman. She's a confidant of the Orange God King. She's one of the biggest Trump sycophants out there. She has some weird relationship with him. She doesn't serve him in any official capacity, but she's apparently this close advisor. She's like a Trump whisperer or something. I don't know what the hell her role is, but she's been very close to this guy. She's got some real juice behind the scenes because she's been able to get people fired. So she's got some power. She's got her finger on the pulse of the lunatic fringe and the MAGA cult. So she's an important person to pay attention to. Now, it's also been pretty widely speculated that her relationship with Trump goes beyond politics, if you get my meaning, that she's been up close and personal with that little orange mushroom. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, but I have seen pictures of the two of them together touching each other in some very strange ways. Anyway, I'll just leave it at that. I know nothing. I'm just... Anyway, could you imagine? Oh, now that has got to be one. If that's true, that is one seriously power-hungry woman to do that. Oh my God, the stench. Can you imagine? I wonder if she helps him on and off with his diaper. Oh, anyway, got an article here from Politico. Let me read you just a little bit of this. Apparently they interviewed her. Right-wing activist Laura Loomer warned that President Donald Trump's handling of the investigation into Jeffrey Epstein threatens to, quote, consume his presidency. She said this during an interview that was conducted, I guess, today, Wednesday. A dramatic rebuke from a presidential confidant that illustrates the growing rupture in the MAGA coalition. I'm not going to read this whole article to you. She said, quote, obviously, this is not a complete hoax, given the fact that Ghislaine Maxwell is currently serving 20 years in prison in Florida for her crimes and activities with Jeffrey Epstein, who we know is a convicted sexual predator. This is in contradiction to what the Orange God King has been putting out there the last couple days, most notably this morning with that unhinged Truth Social post, that this is just a hoax. And anyone who believes this essentially is an idiot and he doesn't want your support anymore. So I don't know if this applies to Laura Loomer because she doesn't think it's a hoax. Anyway, quote, this is why I said, and I'll reiterate it again, the best thing that the president can do is appoint a special counsel to handle the Epstein files investigation. Now, I did a video about this. It's being reported that Trump is considering appointing a special counsel to investigate the Epstein thing. And that he's, a name floating out there is that he might appoint Matt Gaetz. Now, if you didn't see my video about the special counsel, please watch it. I'll link it below. You need to know what would really be the purpose of appointing a special counsel. Actually, why don't I just friggin' say it again, because I won't get into it as much detail. But here's Laura Loomer is calling for a special counsel, a special prosecutor to be appointed, right? Because this is a big deal to her. She seriously wants to get to the bottom of the Epstein stuff. I don't doubt that about her. But here's why she's so short-sighted and frankly stupid. Because if Donald Trump were to appoint a special counsel, that would guarantee that no information is going to come out about this. because we know Trump doesn't want any information out, right? He's doing everything he can to make this whole thing go away and to cover the whole thing up. So if he appoints a special prosecutor, do you think Donald Trump won't control that? You think he won't appoint a complete sycophant who will do whatever he says, like Matt Gaetz? And what would he tell that special counsel? He would say, I don't want you to do shit. I'm not appointing you to be special prosecutor because I want you to even investigate anything. This is a hoax. We're not going to look into it. You just sit there and do nothing. Collect a fat paycheck, and you can ride this out until the end of my term. And between now and then, you as special prosecutor, me as president, my entire administration, and all the Republicans all around the country can say, hey, we can't talk about the Epstein files because that whole thing is under investigation, and we're not going to comment on an ongoing investigation. That would be the point. If Donald Trump appoints a special prosecutor, that would be the point. To make it look like he's doing something, it would appease his base, like Laura Loomer. She'd be happy. Oh, yeah, we're going to get to the bottom of it now. He appointed a special prosecutor. No, you dolt. A special prosecutor would guarantee it will never come out. Nothing will ever come out about the Epstein files. This is a way to bury it, and it's a way for Trump and everybody else to say, hey, we can't talk about this. It's an ongoing investigation, and it will continue right until the end. That's what will happen. I guarantee it, mark my words, if he appoints a special prosecutor. But that's not going to hold for long, I don't think. You know, maybe they'll give him 6 months, but at some point, maybe even a year, but at some point, they're going to demand answers. So appointing a special prosecutor will kick the can down the road a bit, but at some point, or maybe they'll never get back to it. I mean, these people, you know, Trump will just keep them distracted. Maybe they never go back to the Epstein thing. You know, they might just forget. You know, in 10 years from now, one of these cultists will awaken from their slumber, you know, and say, hey, didn't Trump appoint a special prosecutor? Whatever happened with that? Damn it. You know, I don't know. But this is really short-sighted on her part. Okay, and then let me just read this from Loomer. Still Loomer, the one-time Trump whisperer. See, I knew I heard that somewhere. That's where I heard it, Trump whisperer. I wish I could take credit for that, but it's not mine. One-time Trump whisperer wasn't prepared to split entirely with the president over the case. Quote, I'm not going to dogpile the president, she said, adding he can't allow for all his focus and attention to be on the Jeffrey Epstein files. Do I think this has been handled poorly? Absolutely. And in a post-interview post on X, Twitter, Loomer reiterated that, quote, that it is a distraction from the incredible work President Trump is doing to make America great again. And she fully supports Trump. I mean, why wouldn't you? Of course you'd support Trump. I mean, he's rounding up day laborers, kidnapping them off the streets, separating them from their children, leaving their children coming, you know, getting out at school at 3 o'clock, no parents anywhere in sight, you know, because their parents are, who the hell knows where they are? Nobody knows where these people are half the time. They just get picked up off the street, sent to some detention camp somewhere. Maybe they're in the same state. Maybe they've been, you know, taken to another state. Maybe they're in Alligator, Alcatraz. Maybe they're in El Salvador. Nobody knows. Why wouldn't Laura Loomer be all about that? She's pro-life and pro-family and family values and all that kind of stuff. And here her Orange God King is separating families, and she's a good Christian. I'm sure they all pretend to be good Christians, don't they? I'm sure she's a self-professed Christian, you know, just reveling in families being torn apart, children, you know, left with no parents. Now they're wards of the state. They're panicked. They have no idea what happened to their parents. Of course she would love that. And the economy, he's tanking the friggin' economy. We've already had 1 quarter of negative economic growth. We're waiting for the numbers. If the second quarter saw negative growth, we will officially be in the Trump recession. He's doing such a bang-up job on that. Why wouldn't Laura Loomer be happy about that? So I don't want to pile on too much about this Jeffrey Epstein stuff, because look at all the great stuff he's doing. Anyway, just wanted to bring that to your attention. We'll have to keep our eyes open, see what happens with this special counsel stuff. Also, I've got some Ghislaine Maxwell news, but I'm going to have to save that for another video. Please tune in. Subscribe if you haven't done so already. Follow me on my other social sites. I never remember to say that. Facebook, Twitter, Blue Sky, Instagram, TikTok. You can find me most places. So if you're on any of those platforms, please check me out over there. Till next time, thanks for watching. Talk to you again soon.